Hello, everyone. It's Royce here, and I want to welcome each and every one of you to the Royce in the House YouTube show. I really appreciate you joining us, whether you're going to be here live and in the chat, whether you're going to be watching later. Of course, we always get many more views after the show, which is great. All the videos stay available to anybody that wants to watch them on my YouTube channel. So you can jump in there anytime you want. I just saw my notification pop up for the show tonight. On YouTube. So anyway, tonight we're going to be talking about blues legend John Mayall, who I've been a fan of since I've been 15 years old. And I can't say enough about him. I was hearing about him from, friends of mine's older brothers and stuff. And around the time they were saying Clapton is God and things like that. And I've always enjoyed his music. I've always had some of it. I don't have a lot of it right now. I think I got a couple of CDs and I got a couple of albums here. Of course, Bluesbreakers with Eric Clapton. And another favorite of mine, we'll show it later, but it's Turning Point. It was actually a change of directions for him. But the harmonica songs in that and Room to Move are just so iconic, So anyway, so let's go ahead and jump into it here, folks. And Dr. Rick has joined us. Hi, Dr. Rick. Good to see you, brother. Good to see you. James Watson. Great to see you guys here.
James,
that's excellent. Michael Nolan will be here shortly. He was in the chat before we were even live for about 30 minutes. Jeff Davidson. Yep. That right there, that's a brother, Jeff Davidson. We go back about 4 years on YouTube shows. And I always get excited when I see Jeff pop in here. George, Music for All Four Seasons. Love to see George here. And as a matter of fact, George has a great show. Everybody needs to go check out George, Music for All Four Seasons. I get there every chance I get. I'm still working full time. And, and I run a business. I run a couple of them. And so that's not an 8-hour job. Sometimes I really run out of time to do much more than put bids together, do billing, et cetera, study plans for construction and things like that. So anyway, I get it's harder for me to get around, but I try the best I can and get probably in lots of trouble from my wife for leaving her alone and coming in here in the computer room. But anyway, so let's get right into this. This is a tribute to John Mayall, who died July 22nd, 2 weeks ago today at the age of 90 years old. 90. Wow. Okay, so the BBC reported, that the British blues musician John Mayall, whose influential band, the Bluesbreakers, was a springboard for stars such as Eric Clapton and many others, had died at the age of 90, okay? Sir Mick Jagger led the tribute of musicians by calling him one of the most important pioneers of the British blues. Eric Clapton came in with an actual video and said that, John Mayall rescued him from oblivion when as a teenager he was thinking about just quitting music altogether. He was just getting so frustrated. Then he was in the Yardbirds at the time. He was getting frustrated with the Yardbirds turn away from the blues and just in search of more commercial success, which happens all the time. I got to say, I watched Eric Clapton do the same thing later on too. Okay, but at the time, all he wanted to do was play the blues. So he left the Yardbirds, at which point Jeff Beck came in, and then Jimmy Page followed Jeff Beck in, and they were in there together at the same time. But anyway, so he came to John Mayall, and he basically said in his tape recording that he made to honor John Mayall that when he came to the Bluesbreakers, he learned all he needed to know about technique and the desire to play the music he always just wanted to play, just the blues. He strictly wanted to play the blues, and that's why he left, the Yardbirds, okay? So Mayall, an English blues and rock musician, and I want to throw a couple of pictures up. Let's see, we got Groovy Lisa. Hey, Lisa, good to see you here. Oberheim is here.
Hey, Dave.
Dave is here. Folks, I'm going to pop a link up right now, and if anybody wants to join us and help on the panel and talk about John Mayall, I'm going to welcome you all up, okay?
Come up, Dave.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, there's a new link up. So we're looking for volunteers to come up and talk about John Mayall, iconic bluesman John Mayall. Okay, so we've got Groovy Lisa here. James, I Am Hop Frog is here. Chris Elliott, who's that? Okay, we've got Hit Space 80. We've got James Watson. So So the chat's starting to fill up. I couldn't be happier. Hey, folks, do me a proper. I mean, I'm not from Australia, but I've been there. I love the Australians. Hit that like button. Hit that thumbs up button. You'd be surprised. It certainly doesn't cost anything to hit the thumbs up button. But what it does is it encourages the algorithm. When people are searching for content to watch, I have a better chance of my shows being put before them. So I get a better opportunity to get more views and to grow the show. So that's the importance of. If you don't do anything else, hit the like button. It means a lot. Thanks so much. Okay, so anyway, we're waiting for anybody else that wants to join. Not too educated on John Mayall, says Oberheim, or the blues, but if you ever do a prog one, I'd be happy to join. You know what? That's great, and I have done prog shows, and maybe we're working our way back to another one. Yeah, I like prog rock. So anyway, yeah, so that sounds good. We'll definitely keep that in mind, and we're working our way around. And the blues was kind of the building blocks of the early rock. I mean, the blues, the British, all those British bands, including the Beatles, that came over here as part of the British invasion. The Beatles, the Rolling Stones, all of them. They were all fans of the American blues. While we weren't listening to them here in America, the British had fallen in love with the American blues. Countless stories. Keith Richards runs into Mick Jagger. One of them just picked up a couple of American blues albums. They spend the next 3 days in an apartment smoking cigarettes and listening to the blues albums. But anyway, so the blues were like the building block to really all of my favorite rock and roll. Yep. But anyway, so let's move on here. So sadly, at the age of 90, we lost the great blues artist from England. Clapton went on to say he was my mentor in his video. He was my mentor, my surrogate father. He taught me all I really needed to know and gave me the courage and enthusiasm. It was John Mayall that first encouraged Eric Clapton to sing. Don't be afraid to sing, Eric. You've got a good voice. And Eric wasn't singing on anything until that happened. He listened to John Mayall and he wound up developing, great catalog of songs that he sings. And we've been joined by my man, Dave.
Hey,
I
Dave.
am Hop Frog. Everybody go check out Dave's show. I am Hop Frog, Sir James's show as well, and Chris Elliott. These guys are all great. Let's see, Groove Release is here too. Blues stepping stone to rock and roll. Absolutely. That's the way so many of us look at that.
Yeah.
Hit Space 80. I saw Slash last weekend doing his blues music. It was great. Oh yeah, it was really good stuff. Yeah. I have that album. In fact, I ordered that album before it was even available and prepaid for it because I absolutely love Slash's style of guitar playing and the tone he gets. I'm a huge fan of Slash, all the way going back, of course, to his Guns N' Roses days. And I was a fan of Guns N' Roses as well. But anyway, so a statement from Mayall on Mayall's Instagram page, stated that health issues forced John to end his epic touring career and finally led to peace for one of the world's greatest road warriors. And I thought that was just really an awesome statement right there. Mayall was born, November 33, died July 22nd, 2024, 90 years old. And he performed up to a very late age of life as well. And then he got bad pneumonia and quit touring. But anyway, so that's kind of what's going on there. But while in his teens, he completed talking about John Mayall, of course, not Eric Clapton now. Okay, in his teens, he completed a George Formby Teach Yourself Ukulele course. And he also taught himself how to play piano and organ. And he is great. I don't know how many videos I've watched in the last few weeks on YouTube TV. But when you see Mayall there playing the keyboards with the harmonica in his mouth, and then, a couple of songs later playing the guitar harmonica in his mouth, what an amazing musician, Anytime you think you're getting good on an instrument, watch somebody do that, or just walk down the street in San Francisco, there'll be some guy playing 3 instruments better than you can play 1. It's like okay, I'm done.
That's very true.
Okay. So anyway, Mayall, he did his national service. He went in the military, like you were required to do. And he actually spent time in Korea, and that was a scary place to be for a lot of. I have a lot of friends much older than I. Korea was like 50 or something like that, 50, 52, not long after World War II. And I have older friends that were in Korea, and they just say, "What a meat grinder," So all my respect there as well. Well, anyway, so Mayall quickly gained a reputation as something of an eccentric, building a massive treehouse in his grandparents' backyard, where him and his girlfriend lived. He became a regular player at the London blues scene. He had also bought an electric guitar and began playing with various local bands, something he continued to do when he found full-time employment in a local art studio. He had studied art. Okay, so let's just make a little pause right there. I'm going to throw up a picture, and we're going to take a look at some pictures here for a minute. I use this one. I put that one up in community. One of the pictures I stacked 3 or 4 Mayall pictures in under my community tab, and I put a poll, where people could choose their favorite Mayall album, or list in the comments if it wasn't there. So anyway, here's John, great looking guy, super talented, and I'm gonna close that down, and we are now being joined by the one and only.
Hey guys,
Michael Nolan. Michael Nolan, the bottom line, man. Nothing like Michael out there, man. He brings it all to life. And
I'll tell you, Royce, you're all over the internet today. I just released a video that had it was celebrating 2 years. Like I told you last time I was on, you and I have kind of been doing this along with these wonderful gentlemen here and a sundry of others for 2 years. And so I just put up the video. It's you and me and Lou Mars, right?
Lou Mars, yeah.
And and it was the first time that it wasn't the first time you asked me up. It was the second time. The first time I couldn't get up for various reasons. So I joined it, and you were doing an assessment before I got up. It's only about a 10-minute video. So after you guys watch us tonight, go on over there and watch how this all began for me anyway. Royce was already, he had a couple of shows, a couple of co-hosts before Lou even. Lou kind of took over, and then Dan kind of retook over, and I was always the third guy in line. And of course, Dan's got a brand new exciting life these days. And since then it's kind of been me and Royce and Chris for the longest time now. Chris has actually been on the panel long enough that he's a regular now. And of course, James and Dave, I wish you were up here every time, man. No, I'm serious. I really Dave, respect your opinions on stuff, man. I really do.
I echo those. I echo those thoughts, Dave. I just want you to know that. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. You always make the panel better. You do.
Absolutely. And that's important. You can't grow a show if people aren't making the panel better.
But what, Royce, on that first video that, like I said, only 9 minutes, and we talk about Led Zeppelin. Royce had seen my video on Jimmy Page's very best solos. And so him and Lou were going over it before I get up there.
That's right. Yeah.
At that time, I do believe Royce had under 400 subscribers. He is now at 1,560 something subscribers.
Right.
And he is now a professional content creator, and all of that kind of started around that time. That's when Royce really started pushing for his subscriber base and putting his eye on getting his first 1,000. He's not only gotten that, but he has halved that and added that to the 1,000. And Royce, you've done a great job. Congratulations. What do you guys think on the panel? I mean, he's kicked up.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%.
Well,
absolutely.
Thank you so much for all of you. Thank you so much. It hasn't been easy. Let me put it that way. There's a lot of people out there. You really got to step your game up. I mean, I've been trying to step my game up. I put more shows on some weeks than others. I always would like to put 1 to 2 short pre-recorded shows on. I didn't make it this week. I was really busy and I couldn't get it done. But we just got to keep doubling down and getting more content out there.
And keep in mind, Royce is still a working man, folks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so he is running a full-time channel on YouTube and also running 2 separate businesses that I'm aware of in his real life. You know,
construction and real estate. Yeah.
And I meant it in the comments. Please give this video a thumbs up. I think John Mayall deserves a tribute that kind of has a larger audience than we usually get, although last week we got well over 700 views on
we did.
And that's more than we usually get, so we're coming into our own, folks. All right, but we need your help. We need your help.
I probably had more views last week, you know.
You did great.
I mean, at the end of the show is what I mean. At the end of the show, than I've ever had before. You know. I
know. I signed off, and all of a sudden, I saw 350 views. We hit that many people. Good Lord!
When I signed off, I had well over 400 views at the end of the show. And I thought there was a mistake. I kept double checking, you know. There's got to be.
I didn't. I knew we had done a good show. Show. But we've also done good shows that didn't get quite the views. And of course, that could be for reasons like it's summertime, people are out, they're not tuning in, or it could be, like lots of politics are in the air these days. So a lot of people are focusing on news events right now. That's exactly all of us content creators, our views are down. But Royce, to get 750 plus views on his last stream, that's a major movement, especially when you consider the political nonsense in the air that everybody's tuning into, and the fact that it's summer. Congratulations, Royce.
Thank you.
Yeah, you did great. You did great, man.
The fact that it's a 2.5-hour stream, which makes it.
Yeah.
Well, I also had some good people helping me on the show, like I have tonight, and I think that's a key as well. But so actually getting back. Okay, so Mayall's back down out of the treehouse he shares with his girlfriend at his grandparents' house, and he became a regular performer, you know, in the London blues scene. And
shame on you, James Watson.
I know. James. I'm not afraid to experiment, and I actually did some shows where Taylor Swift was a part of that. I did one on where she'd surpassed the Beatles, you know.
No, she didn't.
No, I know that they're counting streaming and everything. Anyway, let's don't go there right now. Anyway, I haven't found that to be the case, you know. I haven't found that to be the case. Anyway.
Great. Nolan's in the mix. All right, here we go. Right. Sorry, guys.
It's all good.
Okay. So in 1956, Mayall he formed the Powerhouse Four, okay? And they were starting to make waves, and they were playing all over London and making a name for themselves, you know, at dances and things like that, small venues. Then he joined a band called the Blues Syndicate in 1962, which was heavily influenced by Alexis Corner, okay, Blues Incorporated, who was pioneering what would become the 60s British blues revival. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to stop right there for a second. Let's go around the table here for a minute. I'll go straight over to Sir James on my left. Okay, so Sir James, tell me how you feel about John Mayall's career and talent.
I think he's amazing. He kind of reminds me a bit of Santana, because Santana's got that kind of style. you know?
Okay.
And I wrote down some of the songs I really like from him. Hideaway with Eric Clapton, that was amazing.
Okay.
Parchment Farm, Sitting in the Rain, Me and My Woman, Crocodile Walk, not to be confused with Crocodile Rock.
Rock, you're right.
Dust My Blues is really good. I'm Your Witch Doctor, and Somebody's Acting Like a Child are the ones I really like a lot.
Oh, nice choices, cool. James. Yeah, really nice choices.
Nice choices is right. Okay, let's slide across to Chris Elliott.
Be honest with you, I don't know a whole lot of John Mayall per se. I've heard a lot of it on the radio and on YouTube, but as far as my favorite songs go, I'd have to say I got the Eric Clapton box set.
Oh, and, nice.
There's an unreleased live track. Have You Ever Loved a Woman? And it's blistering. It's
I love that song. He's got
John
that
Mayall, on. He's on the organ, and then Eric Clapton. Jack Bruce is on bass. Hugh Flint on drums.
Right.
I think that was just before he formed Cream, with Jack Bruce playing with him on tour.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll skip down to Dave now.
I'm just I can't really think of any other songs. I've heard some of his stuff before. The thing I like best about John Mayall, maybe this is skipping ahead a little bit, was the fact that he'd bring people in, he'd train them up, help them, like with Clapton he did, help them get proficient on the guitar, comfortable in singing, and then say, here's my blessing, go do something with it. And he did that with countless people.
Oh God. And we'll be talking about that too.
And people know Clapton, but not very many people know about Mayall. It's sad, but hopefully this.
No, you know what? I agree. Yeah, that's amazing. You know. Okay, so let's go to Michael. Michael.
Yeah, I'm kind of like the rest of everybody. You know, I was a Beatle fan to begin with, so I was very pop oriented. My familial background was country western. Both of my parents were country western singers. My dad was a country western. He had his own Bay Area radio show. He appeared on what we called the Blackjack Wayne Show several times out of Oakland, California, Channel 2, KTVU. So the blues, other than the blues found in country, which is more Appalachian-based blues, was not part of my upbringing, although I come from a place where the blues are very important. I was born in North Carolina, but I was primarily raised in California. But I went back to North Carolina in my junior year. I was 17, spent a year there, kind of reconnected to my uncle was just picking up Homer. My uncle Homer was just picking up. I helped him pick out his guitar. He was a businessman. He owned his own gas station. So, back when he actually had a store in the gas station, back before there were those kind of things. In 1972. And so he did real well. And so he wanted to know. And I said, well, you know, the Martin that I would buy, and the damn guy went out and bought it. But he was into bluegrass, right? So by the time I got back to California, I had gotten connected with Led Zeppelin and knowing that blues bass, because see, the Beatles were more Appalachian blues for the most part. Sometimes they'd go Mississippi, but Appalachian for the most part. But so it was after being in Led Zeppelin, and then the Elvin Bishop group was making noise, the Steve Miller Band before Fly Like an Eagle and all the hits, I started getting into, and that's when, of course, Eric Clapton had always been a favorite guitarist of mine, and I knew that he was in a plethora of bands. So for the most part, I have listened to John Mayall albums. First of all, the man had one of the best voices in rock. Okay, God, what a voice. And number two, listen to his percussive approach on the harp. All right. I have always said, if you can't get it on the front porch, if you can't get down and dirty on the front porch with an acoustic guitar or a harp or a fiddle, a banjo, whatever your instrument is, if you can't just grab it and jam with folks on the porch, then you're denying yourself by not being able to do that, first of all, because if you can't, learn it. And second, because it's all about jamming. My first 5 years of a guitarist was playing rhythm guitar for a lot of local great up-and-coming 17, 18, 19-year-old guitars. And I was trying to learn to play lead guitar, and I do. I've got my own style and everything. But my energies went to songwriting, as you know, Royce. But I'm still a serious guitar player, and I'm going to tell you, and Royce and I have agreed on this many times, and I think pretty much, I think everybody on the panel tonight has agreed with us in the past, that rock and roll in general, if it hasn't got a blues base, either Appalachian or down south blues, as an element, even Led Zeppelin, who went with old English progressions later on, would in the next cut all of a sudden you know what I'm saying? You've got to be able to. So the blues is one of the major building blocks of what I perceive to be classic rock and roll. And of course, classic rock and roll for me started probably late 50s with the Everly Brothers, and believe it or not, in my case, Johnny Cash, all the way through to about maybe 2005. But you could probably say it was dead by 1999, really. But what an amazing amount of wonderful things. I just thought, you know who TJR is, Royce? TJR, he's like me. He does music commentary. He's also a musician. I love him. I watched him.
I do, no.
Yeah, I used to watch him years before I ever even thought of doing a YouTube channel. And then when I did think of doing a YouTube channel, I was going to do a tech channel. And then all of a sudden, as you know.
And you did do a tech channel.
For about 3 or 4 months. Yes, I did. I did a one-off. I did a video on Peter Jackson's Get Back on the Disney Plus series. It was the first video I ever did that got 1,000. Oh, God, you should have heard me yelping around the house, boring my wife and my daughter and my mother-in-law and my 2 nephews about how I got 1,000 views, and that was the beginning of it. But I'm going to tell you, if you don't have the basic blues as a building block and something to anchor, which a lot of newer bands are refusing to do, and say sayonara to the pop scene, right? And so John Mayall is a major player. And my favorite Clapton cut he ever did was the second cut, Hideaway. I believe it was either All Your Love or Hideaway off of the Bluesbreaker album, Royce. And he gets back to some really bass. He'll start a solo with some riffs that I know you know. They're just the rollovers, the duck walk. From Barry, that down, bum, down, all the basics. And then he just goes ape crap. This is PG. He just goes ape crap all over the rest of the album. And I even put it in the comments. I think, of course, we're talking about Clapton. He's never met a band he couldn't quit. But I think that he should have. He should have stayed with the Bluesbreakers. I think he would have been happier. By his statements that you read earlier, we know, I think, that he would have been happier. But he quit, and once he got Derek and the Dominoes, that to me is his best album, right?
Absolutely,
and it's a classic album, and it's even more well known than the John Mayall album I just mentioned. And I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for the John Mayall album that I just mentioned and Eric Clapton hooking up with him, Derek and the Dominoes, Layla, Bell Bottom Blues, Key to the Highway, Crossroads would have never freaking happened. So rest in peace, John Mayall. You had a good long run, brother, and we're going to miss you. That's my part.
Yeah. Well, Michael, you brought up the harmonica, and I got to tell you, we heard a lot of harmonica, in our music listening years, but I have never heard it better than John Mayall, And I've heard a lot of harmonica music, but never better. Mick Jagger is good, but he's no John Mayall. Steven Tyler from Aerosmith, and that band sadly, retired because of Steven's voice. He played harmonica. He played harmonica recently on Slash's new blues album on one song because he couldn't sing any longer. And that was really cool. I thought that was a really cool thing that he could come on and do that at least, And,
and we had John Lennon who played harp, but he usually played a different scale harp, not a blues harp. But occasionally he would do that. But with Mayall on harp, we're talking about he's as good on harp as Clapton is on guitar, right, Royce?
Absolutely.
All right,
there you go. He's my number one harp player.
Me too.
Let me take a minute here to say hi to a couple of people. We've been joined by our own Caitlin Stoddard, Caitlin's Magical Corner, and I want to encourage everybody
Dwayne,
to go to Caitlin's channel. And we've also been joined by Dwayne. Hey, Dwayne, good to see you here, brother. Thanks so much for coming on and joining us. And, of course, I mentioned Jeff Davidson earlier. Davidson's here. And always good to see my buddy Jeff. Always good to see Dwayne. Thanks so much for joining us. I saw John Mayall live and met him. Great musician. May he rest in peace.
He's on a short list of people I would just love to sit down and not interview because just to sit down and talk and ask him and take lessons from him,
Hey, Music Sanctuary, thanks so much for joining us, brother.
Sanctuary, good to see you out there.
All the new joinees, if you could please hit the like button. It really helps to get the show out there. You get enough likes, and 50 is usually like an early threshold. You wind up, the algorithm grabs a hold of your show and starts putting it in front of people searching for content. It just helps you grow, get you more views, get you more likes, get you more.
And we're actively, we're going to be pushing this, folks, until we finally get a video out there that gets at least 50 thumbs up. So you really would be doing us a solid. If you're enjoying the show, wouldn't you like more people to interact with? Let's go get them.
Let's go get them. Let's go get them. That's exactly right. So, in 63, Mayall, one thing I learned, and I was never to wear a striped shirt again. It kind of has this psychedelic movement to it, Anyway, I'm done with that. Anyway, 63, John Mayall rebranded the band, the Bluesbreakers, and they started to become a regular at the Marquee Club, getting a lot of, getting really popular. And the Marquee was a very popular place. And it was not only was it popular, but it was a springboard for other bands such as the Rolling Stones and the Who and many others. It was a top place for these guys to hone their chops and get noticed, okay? So everybody was playing at the Marquee Club. Okay, here's a funny note, though. Mayall was a canny businessman, He'd go out there and he'd count the people coming into the club to make sure he wasn't being cheated out of his share.
That's what
his share.
That's also,
I love that story, man.
Yeah, that's what you call a busker. All right, a busker. He's got a tip jar. He's got his guitar case out there. He seeds it with his own money to encourage you to drop some coin in while he plays on the sidewalk next to you. John Mayall came from that lineage. That's a noble lineage. I'm a busker. I'm busted for a living. Sure.
Very noble. And Mayall, by that point, was already showing himself an expert at spotting new talented musicians and adding them to his lineup. For an example being John McVie on bass. you know, a later founder and God, my mind is
Yeah,
going
but he
blank.
wasn't going to go anywhere, Royce. That guy didn't have any. Oh, wait a minute. Sorry.
Well, yeah, he later helped form Fleetwood Mac. Okay,
Oh, that
and
guy.
that John McVie, right? So I mean, the talent that played for John Mayall is absolutely amazing. You know, his debut album, John Mayall Plays with John Mayall, was released in 1965, a live set. This was a live recorded at West Hampstead, an R&B club. Okay, let me see if I'm West Hampstead. Yeah, I'm saying that right. Okay, that was an R&B club. The album was not a success, and his short-term contract with Decca was terminated. Okay. Okay, so
Wow.
let's talk about the album, and I'm going to put a pic. Yes. Yeah. Go ahead, Chris.
Before you get there, Royce, can I say something?
Yes, please.
You were talking about how John McVie played with them. Also,
yes.
Peter Green. I mean, two of the founding members of Fleetwood Mac were graduates of this band too.
Yeah, Peter Green, I think, had more to do with founding it initially. Yeah.
Great point, Chris. Yeah.
His name will definitely be coming up. His name will be coming up.
That's so influential. Like for him, he was so respected and influential that we're not only having a tribute for him here, but look at all the people that played with him over the years. How many people? His own. Is that God? How well he is?
Absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. I'm gonna put something up here real quick, then we'll get back to the chat.
And you know what, folks? John Mayall was no spring chicken when he arrived on the scene.
No, that's right. Yeah.
I mean, think about it. He just passed away at 90.
At 90.
McCartney, who was 21 in 1964, is 82. So what is that? John Mayall at the beginning of the 60s was almost 30 then, you know?
Right. So anyway, okay, so the Bluesbreakers got together. Eric Clapton was invited in. And they came out with the album, and Eric Clapton really transformed the Bluesbreakers. He already had a reputation. He just came from the Yardbirds. He didn't like the fact that they were focused on commercial success. They were starting to abandon the blues. So he said, "Screw this, man," and he joined John Mayall. And he wanted to strictly play blues. And of course, Jeff Beck followed him into the Yardbirds, and then Jimmy Page followed in behind Jeff Beck, and they became friends, and they played there at the same time. And that's all history too. But so anyway, so what I'm going to show you first here is I'm going to show you this Bluesbreaker with Eric Clapton album.
There they are.
And I'm going to point one thing out here. Okay, from left to right, you've got John Mayall, Eric Clapton, John McVie on bass. John McVie on bass. We know what the other two were doing, and we also had Huey Flint, the drummer. Okay, so that was the lineup on that, and there were some other musicians that weren't quite as featured as this. This was the core here. You have that in so many bands. There'll be four main members that get a lot of recognition. There'll be 3 or 4 other people behind them. So anyway, so this was the lineup.
And don't forget, look at the paper that Eric is reading. That's why it's called the Beano album.
The Beano album, because Eric's sitting there reading a Beano comic book.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's how that all came apart. So at the time that Eric was recruited, he'd been with the Yardbirds. I already talked about that. The presence of Clapton, already an acknowledged star. Okay. Already an acknowledged star, raised the profile of Mayall's band. However, the frequent arrival and departure of musicians began to dog the Bluesbreakers. Clapton made an unannounced 3-month trip to Greece in August '65, leaving Mayall with the problem of finding a new guitarist. His troubles multiplied in October when bassist John McVie was fired because he had a heavy drinking problem, and he was replaced by none other than my man, Jack Bruce, okay? He was replaced by Jack Bruce. Well, you know where that's headed, Clapton and Bruce, right? Okay, so finally, Mayall finally found a guitarist in Peter Green, as you were mentioning, Chris, and who just spent 3 days as a bluesbreaker. before Eric Clapton returned and Green was dismissed. I mean, he was a real revolving door for great talent. Okay.
Peter Green is key to rock history, and a good guitarist. I wouldn't say he was like Clapton by any stretch of the imagination, but a top-notch lead guitarist when he wanted to be.
Yeah. Well, at the same time,
just don't ask him what he thinks of you either.
At the same time, Jack Bruce walked out over his wages. He wasn't happy with what he was getting paid. Mayall was forced to rehire John McVie to play bass. That's what I mean by a revolving door, man. They came and they went, and they came and they went. So in 1966, Decca was persuaded to re-sign the Bluesbreakers, and they recorded what would be Mayall's first studio album. The one I mentioned before, was a live album. You know, this was his first studio album, John Mayall, the Bluesbreakers, featuring Eric Clapton. And I am proud to say that I have a copy of this, and I love this album. It is just amazing. You know, it's not so amazing when the glare is on that plastic cover, but we'll see if we can do this a little better. Nor is it so amazing with the ring light on the cover. But anyway, I love this album. It's the picture I had just had up. This is one of my favorite albums of all time, and I would say it has to be the best of John Mayall right here.
I didn't know this, Dwayne. That's interesting. I hadn't heard that. I'm not surprised by it. Jimmy was in every studio learning every trick during those days, so that's interesting. Yeah.
Wow! Look at that. And can you believe the Music Sanctuary has seen Eric Clapton 5 times?
Well,
my God, I am so jealous of that. That's fantastic.
And let's, I did want to bring out one thing about Clapton. You know, Clapton's playing is as solid as it's ever been, if not much better than he was in the 60s. I mean, at his age, think of all. I mean, he's in, Royce, he's in my top 5 of all lead guitarists. As is Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page, right?
And Jimmy Page. He's in my top 5 as well.
Okay, so think about this. Out of all those top 10 classic rock god guitarists of the 60s, he's the only one that's out there currently touring of whenever he wants to, whenever he does want to play. He's very cantankerous these days. But when he does choose, he's at the top of his game. Maybe, maybe Richie Blackmore has maintained his chops to that degree. I wouldn't imagine, Jimmy Page is my favorite guitarist of all time. I think rock's greatest guitarist, but I don't think he's out jamming and stuff like that. If he had a project, he'd get in shape. But when he did Rumble at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, he made mistakes on that. He's rusty. But Clapton, when you see him,
he's sharp.
Oh God! Yeah. So I am jealous that you've seen him 5 times. I haven't seen him once. I'm sad to say.
I know. Hey, we've got John's music passions here. Fantastic. Man. Good to see you, brother. 79 Mark Allman backing band in the UK.
I was
15 years old, man. Thanks for sharing that, man. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow. Music passion.
Wow, what a magical age to see that too.
So anyway, I wanted to say that Mayall was really wanting to capitalize on the well-known Eric Clapton, guitar player. So he made sure he put his name on the cover, which was a smart thing to do. The album was well received, reaching 6th place on the charts and providing Mayall with the commercial breakthrough that had previously eluded him. So, all right. So that was good for everybody. But the funny thing is the way Clapton comes and goes, you know what I mean?
God,
yeah. I mean, the album was still riding high when Clapton announced he was quitting to form Cream with Jack Bruce, who had just been playing with John Mayall on the Bluesbreakers. Okay.
Now, the beginning of what Royce just said, just as the album was peaking,
Right.
Clapton lost interest can be applied to every single freaking band that man was ever in.
That is absolutely
my God.
True.
We have to do a show dedicated to Eric Clapton and the many. My God, an hour wouldn't even begin to cover it, Royce. Let's do that in the future.
No, let's do that. Yeah.
Because that man. He is the gypsy of rock. He really is. His personal belief systems are not what 90% of rock musicians' political or spiritual bent is. He stands stubborn like a rock, whether you agree with his political agendas, statements, or anything else like that. The man. I mean, think about this. George Harrison was his best friend. George Harrison, everybody says, well, he's the junior member of the Beatles. Yet it was George Harrison that would tell John or Paul, go get stuffed from day one when he was 14 and joined the Beatles. He was nobody's second banana. And he had so much respect for Eric Clapton. There's a reason for that. All right.
Yeah.
He is one of rock's. And, I just said, who was it? Joe Bonamassa may be the very best guitarist out there currently touring. He certainly is. And Eric Clapton, when he chooses to do live, would still give Joe Bonamassa, who's in his prime, a run for his money on any stage. Right. So we got to do that.
Hey, guys, no, we're going to.
Yeah.
That's a fact. Hey, everybody take a quick look at this list. Dwayne's top 10 list of guitars. That's just, I would probably be at least with him on 8 out of 10. And I have no complaints about 10 out of 10, but there's all my favorites. Hendrix, Clapton, Beck, Page, Chuck Berry, Stevie Ray Carlos. Yeah. Dwayne Allman. Yeah.
6 of those are in my top 10. And one of the 7th is in my top 20, so we're not too far off, Dwayne.
No,
I want a noble list, though. Either way,
great list, fantastic list. I want to welcome P401 to the show. Okay, I've got a comment here from him. Hello, Royce, Michael, Caitlin, Jeff, and the rest of the group. I got a question, Royce. Why did Mick Jagger only do one soundtrack for the movie Alfie? Well, I got to tell you, I don't have an answer for that.
Me neither. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I don't know.
Okay, P401. If you've got the answer, please share it with us.
Well, you know what? No, I appreciate it because I'm the kind of guy, I often will share portions of our shows here on my channel. And so I immediately rewatch the show. And it's comments like this. I'll check it out. I'm sure I'll find out. And if I can work it into the next show, P41, you're on.
Outstanding, Michael. Outstanding. Okay, P401's getting some hellos.
A lot of Canadian legends, man.
Music Passion.
Yeah.
By Mayall, Bare Wires, especially. Okay, great album, Bare Wires.
Yeah.
Awesome. P401. Okay, so the album
Bare Wires is a great term to describe his harmonica sound. You know how I like to use barbed wire. I love barbed wire, naked, heavy rock that's jagged, pointed, and John Mayall's harp style is exactly that. And that's why I love his syncopation and gets back to what we were talking about. If you can't do it on the porch, man, that harp on a porch, me strumming a good E7th chord to start it off with. I love it.
Okay, so like I was saying, here's Clapton quitting again, taking a previous Mayall member, Jack Bruce, and then of course Ginger Baker, and forming Cream. One of my favorite bands. Once again, another favorite band featuring Eric Clapton. Right? You can't get away from
Chris,
him. So many
did you notice he didn't call him the Cream tonight, man?
Oh, I never even heard that, but good call.
Yeah, see, we've tamed him.
The Cream.
We've tamed the beast.
Why would I say The Cream?
See, there is still hope for me.
Oh, now Royce is total denial, you know.
So okay, so now
why would I say that?
now we're going back to Peter Green. Okay, Peter Green was reluctant. You know, Mayall reached out to him because Clapton left. Mayall reached out to Peter Green to rejoin the band, and he was really reluctant to do so because of his past experience. So he did actually do that, and he was featured on the next album, Hard Road. Okay, Hard Road, the second studio album, which was released in 1967. Okay, it was Green's only appearance on a Bluesbreakers album, the cover of which featured a painting that John Mayall had done himself. Okay, that was the only one he got to be featured on, and the lineup just continued to change. Okay, musicians left for other projects. Mayall discovered new talent, and it was just like a revolving door. I mean, drummer Mick Fleetwood, I think we all know who that is. Ansley Dunmore, Mick Taylor, who later joined the Stones. In fact, Mick Jagger actually called John Mayall looking for a guitar player, wanted to know if he could recommend anybody. And Mick Taylor said, yeah, Mayall said, yeah, give Mick Taylor a call. And that's how Mick Taylor wound up in the Rolling Stones, a recommendation by John Mayall. Wow. I thought that was kind of a cool little story too. So, okay. So many people passed through the band, you know, during like 1967, although many had quit by the time Mayall released his solo album, The Blues Alone. I love this comment from Eric Clapton about the revolving door of people coming and going. Clapton commented, John Mayall was actually run an incredible great school for musicians.
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty damn appropriate because they all learned from him.
Well, how about just the bands that have come out of what we've talked about tonight? We're talking Cream, Derek and the Dominoes, and Fleetwood Mac came out of that band.
Yes,
right?
That's right. Yeah.
Oh, and then James talked about how what he liked about John Mayall. Well, guess what? And he sounded like Santana to him, right? Well, Peter Green, part of the Bluesbreakers, wrote Black Magic Woman that Santana, made a big hit out of. So, James, maybe that's the connection you were hearing earlier. I almost said that earlier,
Yeah, I want to comment on John's music passion comment. Yes, Clapton was getting he got a little political during the whole, anti-vaccination thing and uncontrolled immigration. He was spouting off, and a lot of people were like not real happy about that.
He was just on the bandwagon of everybody else pissing him on the politics.
My only problem with it is I didn't want to hear it from Eric Clapton any more than I wanted to hear Bono talk about starving children that he was ripping off in Africa, or what Roger Waters thinks is the perfect world. All right. And they're both, and I will add Ted Nugent and his comments to that. So I'm talking about people from the left and the right. And what we're focusing on, though, tonight is I just don't like preaching in rock. So I wish he'd keep his mouth shut in there. But as a giant, Eric Clapton, EC was here, love him.
Okay, one thing I do want to say about John Mayall is he hired people for their technique and their style. He didn't hire them and try to train them,
Right.
And when that happens, oftentimes that doesn't go over very well. He liked what they did and he let them do their thing. Although they learned, because they were in the presence of so much greatness, they learned from everybody, and they learned from the style of music that John was writing for everybody to play. So anyway, a strict disciplinarian, Mayall actually ran an incredibly great school for musicians, but he got rid of them quickly if they weren't up to his standards. You really had to be up to his standards. He had standards for how good they were, and how they played. So anyway, so ultimately, as much as he was a bluesman, as much as he's called the Godfather of British blues, he started to, 69-ish, 70, he started to actually move away from the blues and experiment with other things. Okay. Let's see. Let me get a couple of chats up here. Okay. So in 68, the band began a U.S. tour, which featured a gig at the legendary Fillmore West, Michael, in San Francisco, alongside Jimi freaking Hendrix.
Oh, good Lord.
I know. I always seem to find a way to get Hendrix's name out here, And
I always
so anyway,
try and get the Fillmore West out here, too.
And I try to get the Fillmore East out here.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to do that in just about a minute. Fillmore East, okay? Okay, so following the release of the Blues from Laurel Canyon, in April '69, Mayall dropped the Bluesbreakers name, and his new lineup was experimenting with playing without drums. Can you believe that? And of course, okay, so now we're talking about, or I was talking about at least, the Fillmore East, one of my favorite venues, and I've done a couple of different shows on them and have a Fillmore East album collection. Well, guess what? This next John Mayall album that came out, The Turning Point, was they dropped even having a drummer in the band, and they were experimenting with other styles. And Mayall, this is the only record he had that actually went gold, believe it or not. This was a big selling record for him, and it had the iconic harmonica song "Room to Move." Anytime I run into a friend or something, he's trying to learn to play the harmonica, I go, "Oh man, you got to listen to John Mayall's "Room to Move." That is such an iconic harmonica song. I have never heard a better one, to be perfectly honest with you. And I've heard a lot of good blues harp, but this "Room to Move" is just amazing. And here's a picture of the lineup on the back. Okay. And we had John Mayall, John Mark, acoustic fingerstyle guitar, Steve Thompson, bass guitar, and Johnny Allman, tenor and alto sax. So he was mixing some horns in there at this point too. Okay. And the very last song on the album is what I was just discussing, "Room to Move." Basically a harmonica-based song where he really shreds and shows what he's got on the harp. Okay. So anyway, that album, The Turning Point, was made live at the Fillmore East. It's a live at the Fillmore East album. Okay. Another thing that makes it really special to me.
All right, you're whetting my appetite now, Royce.
So the 70s saw Mayall move to the United States, where he spent the rest of his life. And started to form a series of bands like he always did. I mean, when have you seen more people come and go in his bands? But he started to form a series of bands with American musicians. He moved away from the electric blues that had made his name and began experimenting with, believe it or not, funk, pop, and jazz. Funk, pop, and jazz. Who knew? He continued to tour the UK, however, often backing U.S. blues legends that toured the UK with him. Okay, I'm gonna take a little break here on the story and skip to it's also part of the story. Okay, John Mayall had a 3-story house in Laurel Canyon, and he was in that house. And it was 1979, September 1979. John Mayall was at his Laurel Canyon home when it caught on fire. There was a big fire in Laurel Canyon and completely destroyed his house. 3 cars. All that was left was the swimming pool that they used to jump off this 3rd story into when they were partying. Swimming pool full of soot and ash. And you know what? 3-story home was nicknamed the Brain Damage Club. because of the great parties that were thrown there. It was named the Brain Damage Club. I think that's a cool little story too. I didn't know till I really got into it that he had a house in Laurel Canyon that had burned to the ground. But what was really sad, he had a private movie viewing room, swimming pool, of course, built into the side of a hill. They used to jump out of the 3rd story into it. Mayall and a few friends were watching a movie at the home. When the blaze started, they were able to escape, but listen to what he lost though. He had all these 16th century antiques that were lost, hours of videotape, audio and videotape, all of his tapes, all of the songs he had on tape, the albums he had on tape were all lost in this frickin' fire. Okay, he had a pornography collection that dated back to the 18th century. And
whatever floats your boat.
All of his rock and roll diaries spanning 25 years were destroyed. So,
by the way, Lisa, I agree with you. He's my third favorite bass player in rock and roll. So
is that, let's see, Lisa talking about Jack Bruce or
no, John Entwistle.
John Entwistle, yeah. I rank him right up there with you, Michael. I rank him right up there with you.
Yep. And if I was to go by his riff ability, he would probably be number one. But I don't judge bass players just on their riff ability. But Lisa, he as riff ability goes, he is rock's greatest bass player. The only other guy that could riff like him, who I wouldn't put in my top three, but be in my top four, is Chris Squire from Yes. That man could riff. What about
Geezer? Michael, you had a recent poll on bass players where you narrowed it down, and I remember I picked John Entwistle. I was in the minority when I picked him because a lot of people don't know how great he was.
Well, he won his first round quite handily with a large percentage. But then when he was put up against the other finalists, he didn't do as well.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But we're talking about, like I think McCartney was the number one again. And everybody who's out there going, McCartney is good as Entwistle or Chris Squire or John Paul Jones. You don't even know what you're talking about, Michael. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. First of all, the man, I can show you recordings, his riff ability when he wants to do it is right up there with anybody else. I could give you examples, and I may dedicate a whole video on that. However, it's what he did for the bass guitar, and he was riffing all around, and all those bass riffers came out of the people who worshiped at Paul McCartney's feet. All right, and he is the most melodic bass player and the inventor of let's go to yet another octave that still rings as a sign of a great bass riff. All right, you ask about Geezer Butler, that whole boom, 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 that whole thing, that's octave bass playing based on, just like Paul would go, boom, with a slide up on Sgt. Pepper. So that's why he'd be number one. But we're digressing off what we're talking about. I just wanted to give Lisa a shout out on that because I agree with her on it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, Dwayne, I couldn't agree more. John Mayall's Room to Move. I just spoke on that. It's just absolutely iconic.
Yep.
Maybe my favorite. It is my favorite harmonica song of all time. Piccolina the Cat. My favorite.
Piccolina's in the chat.
Favorite furry buddy has joined us. Roger Waters concert. Listen to half music, half political views. I'll stay home now and put on an album. Right on, Music Sanctuary. I'll do the same thing. Yeah, I don't go to a concert to hear political views. Forget that.
By the way, folks, in the chat, and I don't see who is out there and what. If you're new to the chat, the divine Miss Caitlin is our hostess with the mostest when she's in the chat and not up on screen. So shout out to Caitlin keeping that chat going. Thank you.
Okay, well, I think we all need to answer Groovy Lisa's poll. Fleetwood Mac with Peter Green or without Peter Green? I'm going to say with Peter Green.
Without.
Okay.
They just went too far. After him. But that does not diminish my respect for his input. He is one of my heroes. But, their classic lineup, I have to say is my favorite. And I loved their lineup with Bob Welch. Okay, so... without Peter Green, there'd be no freaking Fleetwood Mac. He named the band after Fleetwood, who he had secured, but he hadn't quite secured John McVie yet. But he liked the name, so he called the band Fleetwood Mac, and then McVie joined, and it became Fleetwood Mac. And ever since that point, by the knighting by Sir Peter Green, he is the progenitor of Fleetwood Mac. The band now can be clearly identified from now into eternity. As long as there is a Fleetwood and as long as there is a Mac, whether you like the lineup that's touring or not, it's Fleetwood freaking Mac, folks.
Oh yeah, it always will be. I like Dwayne's information. Rocky Atlas, who's in Mayall's Bluesbreakers, great blues rock guitarist, and he's from Texas. And that's good to know. Maybe we'll run across him.
Awesome.
Get to watch the show. The Yardbirds and John Mayall's Bluesbreakers produce the most profound music talent in rock.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. I
can't argue with that. Three of the top guitarists of all time, right there.
Yeah.
At least in the top 5 for sure.
Well, hell, I like the Yardbirds for the whole sound. I liked Rolf. I liked it when they kind of went popish. All right, I'm not going to apologize for that. They, as long as they were around, they were I think they were probably Britain's best band that could cover it all.
I'll agree with that.
I thought they could be as popish as the Beatles, but as hard ass as any blues band, right?
I thought their, if you want to call it popish, was a whole lot more rockish than popish. I mean, they were.
Me too.
The Yardbirds were so much heavier than most of the British invasion bands.
Oh, sure.
Thank you, Royce. I'm glad somebody agrees with me on that, because it seems like I've been shouting in the wilderness.
And when you talk about harp players, the Yardbirds didn't have a bad one either.
No, that's right.
They didn't. Good point.
Was that Ralph, the lead singer?
I believe so. Yes.
Keith Ralph, I think. Yeah. No. He had a great. I thought he had a great voice too.
Oh, and he's such a good-looking guy. He's that kind. When I was, 15, and the Yardbirds were going, I wish I looked like him. But I look like Mike. I don't like that.
Do you like those bangs, huh?
No, I just like.
I'm just messing with you.
No, he had enough. See, I was a smart teenager. He had enough pretty boy in him that he was a chick magnet, but he also had a very strong masculine jawline and high cheekbones of a man. So he's one of those guys that got male and female fans at the same time, whereas you can compare him to, say, his replacement, Robert Plant, and Robert Plant was always effeminate looking. He had that wonderful cleft in his. He was a little bit of all of that, but he had that cleft in his chin. But he wore blouses and he had curly blonde hair like every girl in high school you fell in love with, right?
Right.
And yet somehow he had male fans too. He pulled off the impossible wearing blouses, if you can imagine that. But Rolf was amazing, Chris.
His pants too. Let's not forget that.
Well, listen, folks. Listen, folks. It's time for another Groovy Lisa poll. Favorite Cream album? I have to go Disraeli Gears.
Yeah,
that
me
was
too.
The very first 8-track. Well, I bought 2 8-tracks at the same time. I just put my stereo in my first car and went to the music store, and I bought Disraeli Gears by Cream and Bayou Country by Creedence Clearwater. I still listen to and love both of them today, and can just almost binge listening to either one of them and never get tired of them.
Well, Disraeli Gears, that's the one that also has live cuts on side 2, right?
No, that's Wheels of Fire.
No.
Oh, no, then that's the one. I'm sorry. See, I'm not up on, they're not like in my top 25 bands, although I do love them, Royce. I do.
Well, I like
the album where Clapton solos live and and it's one of his best solos he's ever done. And he claims that he doesn't like the solo because the band screwed up on the one beat. And I've listened to it and listened to it. It's become my new favorite album. Disraeli Gears was before, but then I started, when you were talking, I was thinking, is that just Disraeli Gears? No.
That's Goodbye, isn't it?
No, it's Wheels of Fire.
Wheels of Fire. Okay. The second side with the live side was recorded at the Fillmore East.
Yeah.
Right.
I got to exactly. show that as part of
you're speaking of, Michael, was that on Crossroads?
Crossroad, yes, Crossroad.
Oh yeah,
Crossroads, isn't it? But either way, yes, that's what you're talking about. And because I was just wondering, what would because I've been thinking of doing more Eric Clapton, and I was thinking like, well, what are his greatest solos? And I started thinking of some of the ones that I like, and so I went and did a search. Eric Clapton's greatest solos, and somebody mentioned this one, and I went over. I checked them all out, and that might very well be Eric Clapton. I'm going to have to give it some more listenings, but it's that good. It's a contender for one of his very best solos. So I'm impressed. And I don't hear the mess up with the band, but he swears to God that the band, I think he was quoted as saying on the one beat. I may be off on which beat but I tend to remember the interview, him saying they messed up on the one beat and I never could get my bearings. And then you're going, God, you took us on a trip, man. Maybe it was good you didn't have your bearings.
Yeah, I just want to say to Dwayne that I also have that album. I love that album. I love all of Cream's albums. Disraeli Gears just really grabbed me. We were just about to get into the psychedelic era. Well, at 16, I might have already been.
And I have that album right here.
Right here. Okay,
go.
Awesome.
There you go.
And now I have a collector's edition of that one side, not one side, they're all on one side. But every single song is on both stereo and mono with additional cuts that weren't on the original album. And that was given to me. I was working on an apartment building. One of the tenants walked out and said, well, you might like this. And he gave it to me. He goes, and I got more. And I was thinking, well, let's go back up and get them. Anyway,
there you go.
Right. Well, that's another tenant in the same apartment building I was working on gave me that 160 CDs I have.
Oh, that I remember when you got those.
Five or six Pink Floyds. I mean, no band is untouched there. I mean, everybody, Beatles, Stones, you name it.
Quite a haul.
Oh my God, yeah.
Wow.
I picked up a few new CDs lately. They're like dirt cheap, and you get great stuff.
Oh God, yeah. I'm just getting into vinyl, but so I have found a place called Mad Monk. Ooh,
right.
And this is I like them because they sell used clothes, but they sell brand new vinyl, brand new CDs, used vinyl. It's like a potpourri, and I was amazed of just how inexpensive you can get CDs these days, and I can understand why, because I'm not. As you know, I had gone totally digital due to circumstances, and I'm getting back into vinyl because Royce made me do it, folks. I blame him, but I don't see myself going back to CDs unless it's like just this package you gotta have. There's been a few over the last couple of years that I almost fell for, As a matter of fact, I just ordered the Mirror to the Sky by Yes, the double LP version that comes with the DVD mix and the CDs because it was just too good of a deal. And I have recently acknowledged I consider it the album of the year for 2023, So Well, I was excited about that. Sorry for sharing, folks. But.
No, it's all good. Yeah, Dwayne's comment I have up, and I mentioned that earlier in the show. Mayall had built a tree house in his grandparents' backyard where he lived with his girlfriend Pamela.
You know what? I wasn't on camera when you were talking about that, Royce, and I thought, my kind of guy. I love it. You know, he had a romantic side to, his existence. I once almost moved into a barn just to take on that kind of living space. So I understand that, build a fort and live in it kind of mentality.
I think that's so cool. I don't care if it's a tent over a couple of chairs. No kidding. But hey, P401, I have your comment up. Became a YouTube member. Does that mean you subscribe to my show? Join my membership? Because folks, I do have a membership if you want to help support the show. And
I'm a member.
I've started to put. No, I know you are. I've started to put members' videos on them, and I did an early release of a video last week, and then made it public after it had been membership only for a while. But anyway, we'll move on. We'll move on. Thank you. Okay, and here's Dwayne again. Dwayne's been really a great participant tonight. Eric Clapton is my favorite guitarist. Jack Bruce is my favorite bass player. And you know what? What a voice Jack Bruce had. Mm-hmm. Those songs, I mean, like on Disraeli Gears, I mean, they were, what trippy songs. Tales of Brave Ulysses. I mean, just over the top psychedelic. I just love that album. And Ginger Baker was, at the time, we all considered him the greatest living rock drummer at the time. So what an amazing lineup that was, Dwayne. Yeah.
Well, Jack Bruce also was a very progressive bass player. Yeah, definitely top tenor for me every single time. Major player, wonderful voice, great songwriter. An equal to Eric Clapton and Ginger Baker in every sense of the word. All three of them were important for that sound.
Oh, yeah.
Co-equals. There was no superstar. There were all three superstars,
Unlike with John Mayall, for example, one leaves, the band is over.
Yeah.
Which I think is what we're seeing now with Aerosmith because of Steven Tyler's vocal cords and stuff, But anyway,
Well, I just did a video on that voice, and they say they've retired from touring, but all that touring money that was on the table for them to take, that's why they've been so reluctant to finally make this announcement. And if the announcement stands, like I said in my video, what an honorable way to go out.
And
I sing their praises, but I wonder.
I know, and that's what your video was about. And I don't know if you saw my comment, but my comment was that the statement they released about ending it specifically said they were giving everybody a refund that had bought tickets.
Right. I responded to you, Royce, and my response to that basically is yes. So what I took you to say is, well, the money's kind of off the table, but is it? See, it's off the table. It's off the coffee table in the front room, but we haven't looked in the kitchen and what's on the kitchen table, because all that money, they hadn't cashed any of it. All of the tickets sold. They hadn't taken that home yet, right? But all that money is still out there, all right? All of the interest is still out there, and I've just seen greed. I hope they're serious. I've just seen greed too many times.
My comment was I'd love to see him go out with style and class like that.
Absolutely.
And not start throwing avatars and shit out there.
Well, what I proposed is maybe they may attempt to do the TTT tour, the Tyler tribute tour, and he'll sing lower harmonies with Aerosmith, and they'll have Adam Lambert-like singers come out and sing his parts just to get that money, and I'm hoping not.
Please don't let that happen. I mean, they've been around since what, like 69 or 70? I mean,
right?
Come on,
they're an honorable band. You know what? Yeah. I'll tell you what. They're not in my top 25. or 26 bands, but I bought every album from them, and I played their albums all the time. And I even like just Push Play and Honking with Pogo. I thought those were great albums.
Quite a few of their albums too.
Yeah, I bought everything from them. So
okay, I want to say that I agree with Groovy Lisa on bass players. I also don't think McCartney was good as John Entwistle or John Paul Jones. I agree with you, but he's still good. And yes, he's still good. I'm not, I didn't mean this as an insult or anything. We always have our rankings,
Oh, no, I honor everybody's rankings. That's Lisa's opinion. And Lisa knows I have a lot of respect for her. And I've said what I've said and why I believe what I believe. And you know what? I tell this to people on my channel all the time. That's what makes us a tribe. We're not a cult. We're a tribe of like-minded people with a whole lot of different opinions. And that's what makes the freaking world go round.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, Dwayne's just really hitting it out of the park here tonight. I mean, check out.
Yes, he is.
Wow. Yes, he does. We really appreciate having you here. We're going to need to get you up. We're going to need to get you up on the panel, Dwayne.
Yeah, man. You're a source of info, dude.
I love James Watson. I love when Michael vocalizes musical instruments. Ooh la la loop. I love that. That's great. Okay. Music Sanctuary saw Rush twice live. Wow, that's awesome. Caitlin.
Well, you know Caitlin, what, Royce? Since he said that, in my video that I'm sharing on my channel tonight of you and me and Lou immediately started going into, you guys were covering my top 10 Jimmy Page solos. You started with number 1 and went down. And so it was Stairway to Heaven. And Lou goes, oh, yeah, I just love it when he went down, but now I just vocalized it like I remember it. Now that is actually incorrect. Go see my video because Lou, I added extra notes there. That's the way I remember that solo when I think of Stairway to Heaven starting, but Lou actually did it note for note. Kudos, man. But Lou's still in the business, and I've been out. I'm an decrepit old man now.
Well, he still posts some of his songs at some of his venues.
But watch that one, and he hits every note. Royce, he hits every note and the right amount of notes. I was amazed with that. I go, damn it, he got it.
No, he's a talented musician.
Oh, he is.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Pink House Band, they're great. They're great. I watch all their videos.
Okay.
It's too bad he doesn't stay in touch.
Yeah.
Lou.
Yeah.
Where the hell did you go, Lou?
Well,
he knows I love him.
Sooner or later. John Mayall gave Peter Green, John McVie, and Mick Fleetwood studio time, and that's where Fleetwood Mac came from. Excellent comment.
Exactly.
Okay, the Music Sanctuary, cool. Okay, Keith Ralph. Yeah, I think.
I called him wrong. I'm sorry, Ralph. You're right.
Okay, Piccolina. Yes, I agree. The Yardbirds were all that. They were. I wound up elevating them above almost everybody for a while, of the British bands that showed up here all kind of at once over a couple of years.
What I liked about them is, like the Beatles, their album tracks were wonderful, right? You didn't just, I just want to play the hit. I mean, they were all great tracks. They
were all great tracks. They were just, great. That's great musicians there for you.
Yeah.
So Keith Ralph lost a lung from asthma, still managed to play great harp. Sadly, he passed away from being electrocuted by his own guitar. He was playing at his home in 1976.
Yeah, sad ending. Very sad ending. I agree, Dwayne.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just really.
Now, I didn't know. Thanks, Dwayne. I appreciate the extra info. I always assumed that he was electrocuted while on stage performing. So thanks for making that clear. I wasn't aware that he was at home. That makes it even sadder, because I mean, I had visions of him at least going out in a blaze of glory. But you know what? getting electrocuted, stepping up to a microphone for a lead singer, there's worse ways to go. That's kind of like, I don't know. That's almost like epic if you think about it. There's a mythology to him now.
Well, look at the Music Sanctuary here. He was an aspiring drummer in the 70s. Neil Peart was his idol. The title of professor was very appropriate for Neil. All three musical geniuses, Rush or Canadian royalty. Yes, they are Canadian royalty. I agree with
Absolutely.
that. Sure.
I agree.
I like drumming.
Very high on my list, probably number 3 for me. And the only reason they're not higher is I've got this insane thing that Canada's best band was Clap 2. All right. And then I give it to the Guess Who, and then it goes to Rush. But, out of those 3 bands, Rush, as far as musicians, they're the best. I could understand everybody in Canada going, yep, they're our king.
Great band. Absolutely.
Yep.
What do you think, Chris? You're in Canada right now as we speak.
Yes. About Rush? Oh,
yes.
Rush.
Yeah. Okay.
I've seen them 3
times.
Hey,
Royce, I'm going to have to head out. I had an agreement.
Okay.
Kimberly and I are going to watch long distance together, a movie with our daughter Rachel.
Okay.
She's about 112 miles away from us. So I swore I'd get off
that's okay.
in time. But
right.
I want to say thank you to everybody who gave this thing a thumbs up. You're helping Royce's channel.
Hit that like button, please, guys.
Yeah.
And if you're not subscribed, please hit the subscribe button as well. It doesn't cost anything. Just help us grows the show, keeps things going, and we really appreciate it. So
absolutely.
Okay,
all right,
Maya,
hey guys on the panel, Chris,
Okay.
James, Dave, and Royce, thanks for having me on, guys. I love y'all.
Yeah, well, thank you. You're my co-host. You know that.
All right, bye.
Okay, so anyway, let's get back to Mayall. Kind of try to wrap up the Mayall conversation here a little bit. Okay, the blues started to decline a bit in the UK around 82, but Mayall decided it was the right time to reform the Bluesbreakers. Okay, so he kind of going against the grain there maybe a little bit. So John McVie, Mick Taylor rejoined their old boss for a short time, and the enthusiastic reception by the band encouraged Mayall to put together a more permanent lineup. Okay, Mayall continued to tour, and make recordings throughout the 1990s. The 90s, man, and the arrival of Texas guitarist Buddy Whittington in 1993 added a new dimension to the band's sound. So that's really cool that he kind of got away from the blues a little bit, experimenting jazz, pop, funk, things like that, and then wound up going back to the blues in about 1982. I think that's fantastic. So Mayall and Eric Clapton, Clapton was one of the former Bluesbreakers at Mayall's 70th birthday concert. Okay, in 2003, Mayall celebrated his 70th birthday with a concert in Liverpool that featured some of the former musicians, including Eric Clapton and Mick Taylor. How awesome is that after all those years, 2003, Mayall. So in a career spanning seven decades. Oh my God.
Wow.
He never achieved huge commercial success in his own right, but his dedication to keeping the blues alive was a major influence, in the rock explosion, So anyway, winding it up here a little bit. Okay. Mayall, he was made an officer of the Order of the British Empire in 2005. He was, he managed to pick out some pretty special people, choosing band members based on their specific sound. That's what he would look for. Specific sound is that he was after. Okay. And, he survived by his 6 children, 7 grandchildren, Pamela and Maggie, his devoted secretary, Jane, and his close friends, it added. So anyway, we, the Mayall family, cannot thank his fans enough. Okay. People stood by him as fans. I stood by him as a fan. Okay, Mayall performed numerous times in San Diego over the decades, most often at a club called the Belly Up. His final area performance came in 2021 at the Poway Center for the Performing Arts. He was 88 years old, and it was final tour of his career. So anyway, one last note. Mayall had created 36 studio albums, 34 live albums, 24 compilations, 4 video albums, 4 extended plays, EPs, 44 singles, and his last studio album was released in 2022, 2 years ago.
Wow!
What a career! What a career! Any closing notes here? Let's move over to you, James, and then we'll go down and around. Any closing thoughts on Mayall?
I think he was a legend, and he's going to be missed. And I'm glad that he inspired Clapton to sing.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. I always loved that story. I heard that years ago, and because Clapton would say that, John Mayall told me, "Hey, you need to start singing." Mm-hmm. So anyway, that was cool. So yeah, so that's a great comment. Thank you.
He was credited with starting Clapton to sing in the studio, and I think if I remember correctly, Jack Bruce was the one who got Clapton to start singing live as well.
Oh, okay.
They kind of worked together on him, I think. Am I correct on that, James?
Huh?
Am I correct on that? That they kind of worked together on that?
Yeah.
Like, because John Mayall got him to sing in the studio, and Jack Bruce got him to sing live.
Mm-hmm. And Eric is just amazing. Like, you could see where he got his style from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Dave, any closing thoughts here on Mayall? And then
I just wasn't aware of the catalog that he left behind. I mean, I knew he did quite a bit, but I was floored when you're describing the 36 studio albums, 34 live albums, compilations.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
And then just the imprint that he put on so many artists, I mean, all over the world. I don't think we'll really fully see the extent of his impact till years later.
I agree with that. As long as he's been around, it'll still be years later before we see the extent. I agree with that. I also love this comment by James Watson. I've always found it sad that the world mostly lost interest in Jack Bruce after Cream disbanded. Mm-hmm. He wrote such great songs. And you know what? I've always wondered what happened to him, I mean, Clapton went on and is still going on. And of course, Ginger Baker, he continued on. And but you scarcely heard of Jack Bruce after that.
Yeah, he didn't do too much. He did a little bit of stuff kind of on the side with Ginger Baker, and then he did a really great album with Robin Trower called BLT.
Okay.
And the name of the drummer is escaping me, but it's really good.
And for me, Jack Bruce was absolutely the voice of Cream, and we all know that. Yeah. What an amazing voice he had.
Mm-hmm.
Those songs were so good. Very impressed with the way Aerosmith. Thank you, Dr. Rick. I was saying the same thing. Yeah. We were having not really a debate, but a discussion. Michael's concerned they might come back in another form. And I was hoping that they'll be true to their leaving statement, retiring statement, that they're going to give everybody their money back from their ticket sales, and they're done. That's a really class way to go out. So I agree with you, and I'm gonna continue to feel that way unless something changes. Thanks for commenting. Okay, Chris Elliott, tragically hip with that much praise. Yeah. Caitlin Stoddard, our own Caitlin Stoddard. Everybody, be sure to check out Caitlin's Magical Corner. What a fun show. I got to catch one of them earlier this week. I don't get to catch that many just because I still work full time. Mm-hmm. And I know, James, you sent me a link to a show that you had, and I went over to check it out, and it was like 4 hours long, over 4 hours long. And, I had about 10 minutes,
Oh, that was my Ringo Starr birthday.
Yeah, Ringo. That's right. Ringo. Yeah. I'm sorry. 4 hours is, I don't know. 4 hours is long for me.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
But Dave and I have fun for the 4 hours that we did.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you do. And I've had some long shows too. I may even have a 4-hour back in the day, But Dusty Spins. Hi, Royce and crew. How you doing, Dusty? Good to see you here, brother. Do me a proper. Hit that like button, please. About my third time I've asked tonight. I've asked everybody.
Never hurts to ask.
Good to see you. I hope all is well with you, Dusty. No, never hurts to ask. It's so important, though, as far as like getting the show out there. It's all about the algorithm recommending your show to people searching for content. And that's all based on the likes you get,
Yeah.
So that's really a interesting topic. It took me a while to ever understand that, but why everybody was so, obsessed with getting likes. Now I get it. So Dusty Spins, hello, Mr. Elliott. Piccolina. I love that show. Piccolina the cat is just one beautiful little fur ball. Like the mellowest cat you ever saw. And it's just fun to check in on that. You guys all need to check in on Piccolina the cat. It's fun. I enjoy it. I'm an animal lover. I think we got up to 16 cats one time, and I'm almost embarrassed to admit that. And one of them was trying to eat one of the kittens. Was the skunk? A skunk showed up, was trying to kill one of the kittens, and I swung the sliding door open. All my little kids were all little. They were all with me. And here's all the cats were screaming. And here's this skunk that showed up to eat some cat food on our back porch, and biting into the spine of a kitten. Man, I threw that door open, got a broom, started smacking that skunk. It turned around and sprayed into our house. And it took a long time. It took a long time to get me and the house to get rid of that smell.
Wow.
It was just horrible. We were, anyway, I
Kate, don't forget you're a proud cat mom too, because you have Dude. And I have 2 cats too, Ivy and Joey.
Well, we have 2 dogs plus our daughter's dog. We were up to 5 for a while, all little dogs, but we live on 2 acres. They love roaming around and chasing squirrels and rabbits. And one of my little Yorkies showed up with a big snake in its mouth one day, shaking it.
Oh my God.
And I took that snake away from it. It was a king snake. They kill rattlesnakes, You don't mess with king snakes. No. I took it away and took it to a safe place. And then another time, 2 of our dogs decided they were going to kill an opossum. I heard all this racket. And, Frankie was on one side and Gizmo on the other, my daughter's dog. And they were playing tug of war with this little opossum. And anyway, I had to rescue the opossum and take it out near a pond and let it go, get it out of the yard. So anyway, we have our things that happen with our animals up here. Coyotes took my wife's favorite little dog, shortly after we'd lost a daughter. It was like a therapy dog, little Maltese. And coyotes, took off with another dog too. But anyway, finally got the fence up. And so I actually recorded Eric Clapton, Stevie Wonder live at MSG right now to view after the stream. Wow. That's great. That is fantastic. Thanks for sharing that. Piccolina the cat, I saw the Tragically Hip live in London, England. Oh, thanks, Dwayne.
Oh, they're a great band. It's too bad they never made it in the States enough where you'd be more familiar with them, Royce, because you'd like them.
Okay, yeah. Wow, well, we're traveling through the chat. I like to get everybody's messages up here. Then we'll be closing afterwards. Stationed in Germany, they started the European tour with 2 shows there. Okay, awesome. All right. Okay, I didn't know that. Little Schoolgirl on 5. I have a Yardbirds live. I think I have like 5 Yardbirds album. Must have been amazing. Thank you for your service. I didn't know you were in the military, but you have my respect. Awesome. Jack Bruce played with West Bruce and Lang after Mountain broke up. Oh, that's interesting. I'm glad to hear that. I had not heard that. I had not heard that before.
Yeah, I think there's a song or two of that on. I have a 2 CD Mountain compilation, and I think one of the live songs from that lineup was on there too. It was really good. And just Leslie West, Jack Bruce, and anybody could be good. Anyway.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So wants to tour. Interesting. I really enjoyed the chat tonight. The chat is often on fire, but I mean, tonight it was really on fire. There was so many great comments coming out of the chat. I mean, it just really makes the show as far as I'm concerned. I really appreciate it. Piccolina, haha, Royce. Love that skunk story. I don't know what got me started on that. But it was it's not the first time, and it probably was. One night I was just taking the trash cans down. Of course, my driveway is 160 feet long in the dark, and it's kind of sloping up near the house. I'm rolling down one of my big trash cans. I get sprayed by a damn skunk. I don't even see it. Trash can startles it, and it turns around and sprays me. Oh my God.
Well, I had a story. I was coming around from the front, bringing the garbage pail to the back, and I'm coming along this, and there's a skunk walking out in the middle of the yard. Yeah. So he looks over at me. I look at him. He just does his thing. I do my thing. It's like, yeah, you ain't kept bugging me, so I'll leave you alone.
Have a good one, Michael.
Oh,
yeah. Hey, Michael Chavez showed up. Roger Daltrey's voice is almost gone as well. Hey, Michael, thanks for popping in and joining us, buddy. Appreciate it. We're getting really close to closing. I'm just trying to catch up on the chat. Don't like to leave any messages unread. But anyway, guys, I wanna thank the chat. Like I said already, it was so good tonight. It really makes the show. And I want to thank all the co-hosts. Of course, Michael Nolan left a few minutes ago, had plans with his wife. But thanks, Sir James. Check out Sir James's show. Let me see if I can point the right direction. Okay, go check out Sir James's show. You'll love it. He's a great guy. Got great guests. One of them, in fact, is right below me.
My co-host,
Dave. I am Hop Frog, and he also has his own show. So people need to look at that too. And Chris Elliott, one of the most knowledgeable people on here anywhere, and I really appreciate you always being here for us. You just
I just appreciate the opportunity to be here. So
thank you
for that,
Doctor. Yeah, appreciate it. Michael Nolan setting down for a family movie night. Royce, we'll enjoy it, Michael.
Yeah,
enjoy it. Yeah, I'll probably go do the same thing here in just a couple of minutes. Yeah, say hi to Kimberly for us. Michael Chavez, 5 stars. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that so much. We appreciate those stars. Thank you. Good show, everyone. Stay safe, careful. Thank you, Chris. Michael Nolan, night to each and every one of you. Thanks, Michael. Good night to you. The Music Sanctuary, great show, Royce and everyone. Thank you. Thank you so much, brother. Caitlin. All right, folks. Well, we're going to close now. Thanks, everybody, so much. You're all appreciated on screen, off screen, people that'll be watching later. Thank you so much. And that's what's going on in Royce's world today. Good night, everybody.
Good night.